Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Heartbeat of Bartlett podcast, where we talk everything Bartlett. We want to thank our underwriter, First South Financial, for making this podcast possible, and a special shout out to our friends at V2 Media. Today's program is going to cover an important topic that residents of Bartlett are very interested in, and that's retail development. Having good livability is imperative for any community, and its amenities define the type of lifestyle that you can expect, from garbage collection all the way to having companies with good paying jobs. Yet, in the middle of all of that is something that everyone is concerned about, and that's having retail establishments that make life fun and enjoyable. Bartlett is the 11th largest city in Tennessee and Memphis's biggest suburb. So we already have a strong retail base, but being located next door to Memphis also presents challenges as well as strengths. So we're going to dive into the podcast and go through all of that. I'm joined today by my co-host, Teresa Griffith.
Hello.
With First South Financial. And our guests today are none other than Mayor David Parsons and Dustin Jones, the co-founder of Jones, our real estate agency. Thank you all for being here today and taking the time to be here. We're going to have fun today. So. Mayor, I'll start with you. So I've lived in Bartlett for 37 years, and in 1988, the residents of Bartlett was about 25,000, and we have more than doubled that today. And so with that substantial growth, you've been in Bartlett a little bit longer than I have. Could you elaborate on the growth of Bartlett and what changes you've witnessed?
Well, I graduated from Bartlett High School in the 70s, and basically when I was in high school, you went over the railroad tracks, and you made it down to about where the bowling alley is, and that was about the extent of the town. Mm-hmm. And remember, I had a friend that asked me to carry him home, and they lived out about where the mall is now, and I thought I drove to Somerville. It's so far out in the middle of nowhere. So through the 70s and starting in the 80s, there was a big housing boom, and in the 90s, I think it was 1997, we had the Wolf Chase Mall opened up, and that opened up a whole lot of opportunity out the 64 corridor. And when I was in high school, it was a big thing on Friday nights. The guys, we go to the McDonald's in Raleigh. Had to drive all the way to Raleigh on Austin Peay to go to McDonald's. And today, the changes you've seen, I think we have 3 McDonald's, 2 Wendy's, a St. Francis Hospital. You can actually come into Bartlett now and buy an automobile of just about any kind, a Honda, a Nissan, a GMC, a Buick, a Tesla. And you look at in the St. Francis Hospital, and you look at all the professional businesses there in Bartlett now, the dentist, the doctors, just about any need that you might need, we have there in Bartlett. So it's really nice to be able to, and you go buy groceries now. There's three Kroger's in Bartlett, a neighborhood Walmart there, and plenty of opportunity for more growth, for more grocers. And so now we're just at a point of 58,000, almost 60,000 folks that it's a different city. In 1970, I think we was around 4,000 to 6,000 folks. I don't know what it was in the 80s. We've done a whole lot of growing, and I think it was a smart growth and a needed growth.
That's great. Well, you just answered my next question. We were going to ask you about catering to Bartlett residents and the retail. You just established all of that. There's so many needs that are being met. I think we can all agree that the biggest development that's going on right now is Union Depot. So how is that progressing, and what opportunities do you anticipate this development creating?
Well, let's put Union Depot in context. We believe it's the largest single development that we've ever had in Bartlett. Well north of $200 million there. It's 160-something single-family homes, about 80 owner-occupied condos, and somewhere around 400 lofts is going to be there. So what that brings to the table automatically is a diversity in housing, the likes that Bartlett has never seen before. So it's something outside the box from traditional housing. I think it's something that's a market trend right now that's spot on. And what does Union Depot development bring to it? They say a rising tide raises all ships. So what that does in itself on that 74 acres, I believe it was, the Union Depot is, that 74 acres is having a huge economic impact on retail all around Bartlett, particularly around what we call four-way, 70 and 64. There's 35 acres across the street that's in the process of being developed now, and a whole host of other opportunities down that 64 corridor. So it's changing the landscape. And what that allows the city, what that does is it brings better, more unique opportunities for our citizens, for places to shop, for places to buy goods, and places to even restaurants to go to.
And it increases revenue too.
It increases revenue too, yes.
Dustin, so your firm, Jones Hour, is one of the leaders in retail development, but is fairly new to the Memphis market, or fairly new to Memphis.
Sure.
So can you tell us about how your company started, and then maybe some insights you have onto retail development?
Sure. So my partner and I, Jonathan Hour, founded the firm almost 4 years ago now. I've been doing retail real estate for a decade plus, and before that I was a retailer. I ran a restaurant called Swanky's Taco Shop that some of y'all might know.
Yes.
And then my partner has been doing retail real estate with Boyle, which is one of the largest developers in our area. And we were doing fine. And we were experts even at our other firms that we were at. But, as you look out into the southern United States and you look at who our competition was here, you had offices out of Atlanta and out of Nashville and out of New Orleans and LA and even New York that, ran a lot of the real estate in our market. Every other one of those cities has a great local retail shop that is there to serve their community. And all of that money that they generate or earn stays in the community instead of half of it going wherever, right? And so we thought there was an opportunity for us to do that. And we were right. People were coming out of the woodwork to come and work with us and see how we were going to affect the local community. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a good ride. We've been really busy, and we've taken a big market share, obviously. From a retail perspective, Memphis and Bartlett and the whole region are really at a precipice right now. With Blue Oval, even the stuff in Arkansas with Big River Steel, XAI coming to town. There's a lot of eyeballs on what's happening in our area right now. And really, there's no better city place than Bartlett to take advantage of that because of, it's centrally located and all that. It's already established, but has room to grow and has access to I-40 and everything else that brings people into town. So it's a good time to be here.
Yeah, no doubt. And Dustin, I know your company, Jones Hour, also serves as a consultant with the Bartlett Chamber. So tell us what that relationship is like and what you're tasked to do.
Sure. So our relationship is multifaceted. First and foremost, we're the retail experts in the region. So being able to know who's moving and shaking in the market and who's coming to town is important. But also we take the city of Bartlett to the world, right? So we'll be in Vegas for a conference in, I think it's 3 weeks. There's, 30,000 retail specific real estate people that attend that conference. All of the major retailers that everybody wants to talk to will be there. And I'll be there meeting with those folks and presenting the city of Bartlett in a way no one else can, right? To know the specifics of the leadership, that it's open for business, the economic incentives that Bartlett has, its proximity to Blue Oval and all the other things that we've already talked about. Also, we help facilitate. We're relationship facilitators with the city. In the chamber, telling developers what's available out there, where they can develop, what they should be developing, what that development should feel and look like, and what retailers can plug into it, right? And we also have a service where we do mapping that a lot of people can't do, so we can show what the demographics look like, the density, where the traffic flow is. We have access to cell phone data that shows how the citizens of Bartlett move within the trade area, and we're able to present those things to the retailers.
And you're probably familiar with what else is already there, so what things we might need in the Bartlett area.
Right, and that's one of the great things about Bartlett. As Mayor was saying a second ago, you've got all of these great things already there. The dealerships, you've got the hospital, you've got all the Krogers, the grocery anchors. There's co-tenancy there that a lot of other markets don't have.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what types of retailers have you been meeting with, or what things would you like to bring into the Bartlett area?
So, as I said, I'm going to this conference, but there's other meetings and other travels I do. We're meeting, we're meeting with what everybody wants. We like to say that we do the sexy side of real estate, right? Everybody wants to have a Publix, right? I've talked to them. Everybody wants to have Trader Joe's. I talk to those folks. Everybody wants to have Raising Cane's. They want to have your In-N-Out burgers. They want to have all the fun, all the entertainment things, the Putt Shack, all those. I know those people personally. I talk to them. I know they're real estate managers. I present sites to them, and I'm selling Bartlett and the entire surrounding area. So if you've thought of it, I've talked to them about Bartlett specifically.
That's great to know. It's always good to have somebody like that on our side.
For sure. Mr. Mayor, there's nobody that knows what the residents in this city need better than you. And enhanced retail is definitely one of them. So as mayor, what do you want to see from a retail perspective for Bartlett?
I think the first thing that we hear from residents that we'd like to see some more white tablecloth restaurants. The survey that we did the first year as in office, it was very, very vocal, very out front. They wanted more entertainment venues, white tablecloth restaurants, and more outdoor activities. And so I think that I think first and foremost on the tip of everybody's tongue is some white tablecloth restaurants.
Okay, great. And what do you think makes Bartlett, we've kind of been talking about this already, but what do you think makes Bartlett so unique and attractive to investors who are looking to expand into Bartlett?
Number one, I think it's a blue collar community that we find a lot of times. You think a white collar community is always the community you want to go to, but a lot of folks, from what I've been hearing from, there's a little more discretionary income in a blue collar community than in a white collar community many times. Mm-hmm. So we got good paying, we've got people making good money, got discretionary income to spend in your business that comes to Bartlett. One of the things, we're centrally located here in Shelby County, and we're a full service city. We have a hospital. A lot of these other communities are just now adding ambulance services. We've had our own ambulance service for years and years and years. We've got one of the largest police departments outside of the city of Memphis.
Yeah, it's fully staffed.
It's fully staffed. Our fire department's fully staffed. We just purchased 2 new ambulances and got another one coming here pretty soon. So when you say a full service city, it's a city that we've got a huge staff, or over 700 some people during the season. So we keep our streets clean, we police our cities, and you call for an ambulance, they're there. We've got the best trained EMTs and paramedics that come. So we not only that, we've got one of the best and one of the largest school systems is in the state. Mm-hmm. That has run all kind of accolades. And so when we talk about Bartlett, that's what we call hometown proud. Mm-hmm. We take care of things like it's home. And we'd love for you to make Bartlett your home. Mm-hmm. And when I talk about Bartlett, it's about the area, because when Bartlett wins, everybody wins. When Memphis wins, everybody wins. Shelby County as a whole has to come together. That's one reason this week on Monday, Mayor Paul Young and I met with the Simon Group for the Wolf Chase Mall. Mm-hmm. And we know that there has been concerns out there, and we just want to make sure they're addressing those concerns. And what we heard, they're addressing those security concerns, and they've got a very bright future with a lot of things coming up. And I don't want to say something to step on Dustin's shoes there, but there's a lot of good things that are happening. It's not on the decline, it's on the incline. Mm-hmm. Their crime is down, and that whole area is beginning to succeed, and we're beginning to see the likes of businesses that Tennessee's never seen before. There are coming national chains that wouldn't come to Shelby County or begin to come into there. And so we're very excited about the only ones that win out of this is our citizens. They get more opportunities, get more spending opportunities, and to be able to spend those dollars where they want in their local community.
Yes, sir.
Well, that tees up my next question very well. So are there any businesses that are coming that have signed contracts that you can talk about?
So I
already.
liken that question to, have you ever seen the movie Fight Club? What's the first rule of Fight Club?
Don't
You don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah.
There are lots of exciting things coming, and several of them are our clients. And I can't fully disclose those, but there's been a lot of great movement in Bartlett. This is not Bartlett, but Wolf Chase, like Mayor was just saying. That the Sears box that's been empty, they've got a funplex that's going to be leasing the top floor of that. You got Primark on the ground floor that's breathing life into that area. They're tearing down the Bed Bath Beyond box, where it is torn down. You're going to have a Raising Cane's there. You've got a Seven Brew, and then another special restaurant that will end up over there at some point. On the north side, it's not super sexy, but you got the Club Car Wash. You've got some stuff there over by the Hobby Lobby that's about to be leased. You've got some other movement. We know about the Zaxby's and all of those things, but we've got the Ragin' Cajun that just came online. Chipotle is coming out there. That's been announced. Burlington, which has just redesigned their whole model to a smaller footprint, have upscaled everything. It's going to be in the Kroger Center there at Bartlett and Highway 64. Dutch Brothers is shopping the area. We've got a best-in-class restaurateur that it wants to be in the market that we're trying to find a home for. There's a smaller format indoor golf simulator deal that we're trying to get into town. And then we've got a national branded sports bar, multi-TV thing that we're trying to find a home for too. So lots of exciting things coming. I can't tell you about all of it,
but that's really exciting. So by this time next year,
hopefully
we have quite a few of those projects probably.
Well, and the good thing about Bartlett is the entitlement process there, because they're open for business, where a lot of these other cities around would just make it so difficult to do things. It'll help facilitate
move things
some of
along.
that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of those this business that he just mentioned. In 2024, we had 10 new restaurants opening up. And right now, there's only 12 that's on the board as perspective for this next year. So a lot of opportunities coming our way.
It's great. Yeah.
Yep, you just answered my question there, Mayor. I know that you're excited about these retail concepts that are coming here. It's a very exciting time, and Bartlett is growing rapidly. So, Dustin, why do you think retailers are drawn to Bartlett right now, and how does your work help the position for the city's future growth?
There's so many good things about Bartlett and I've mentioned them earlier. It's blue collar, but it's not. You get the best of both worlds. It is high incomes, upward mobility. You've got the traffic pattern. You've got access to I-40. You've got, the Wolf Chase area as a whole, which half of it is Bartlett, is the only regionally traded area. People come from West Tennessee, they come from North Mississippi, they come from Arkansas to shop that area. That's one of the most sellable things. So when you look at the entire MSA, there's maybe 6 main targets. You got Bartlett, you got Collierville, you got Germantown, you got Arlington, Lakeland's kind of the same. Bartlett's the first place they want to look, because they want to be in that super regional area, right? So, you've got that, and then you've got the growth with Blue Oval. You've got safety. It's one of the biggest things that everybody worries about in our MSA. It's the first thing I can say. It's one of the safest cities in the state.
It is.
You've got the school system. I saw a stat the other day, and Mayor, stop me if I'm wrong, I think Bartlett's like a top 4 school district in the state. Is that right?
At least that.
I think that's correct. I mean, what a thing to say, right?
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of positives that sell the city of Bartlett.
And I can tell you that as a resident with 4 kids, 2 of which are in your school systems, we are so pleased. We are so pleased with the teachers, the staff. The superintendent, David Stevens, has done an amazing job. He was actually my principal back when I was at Bolton High School a long time ago. But Dustin, back to you. How does Bartlett compare to other cities that you work with in terms of growth potential and retailer interests?
I talked a little bit about that. And so most retailers that are not in market, the strategy that they're going to look at for cities that aren't Memphis, right, or the trade areas that aren't Memphis, they're going to look at Bartlett, Collierville, Germantown, Lakeland, Arlington, again, kind of the same. And you got the 2 Mississippi, cities down there. And then you've got the ancillary stuff with Hernando, and you've got Millington too. But the strategy typically is, one is the Wolf Chase Bartlett area. And then you look at 2 and 3, which would be Germantown, Collierville. Germantown's basically landlocked, so there's not much you can do there. Super tight. And then Collierville, but it's on the end of the MSA, right? And so, like, if you're out there, you're almost on an island. And then from there, you've got North Mississippi, and then everything else from there. So, from a development standpoint, there are sister cities in our area, including the North Mississippi market, that make it exceptionally difficult for a retailer to get open and get approved and do the concept that they want to do. Bartlett is not that way. I tell these retailers that I meet all the time, Bartlett had a story for a long time with former leadership that is not there anymore. Bartlett is open for business. Nice. It is easy to come in there and facilitate sites and information and feedback from the leadership there. And that's the leading story for me is, you see major national chains getting shut down by traffic concerns in other markets that are going to have the same similar concerns here, but like, hey, we can talk to you. We can facilitate that. We can create something to solve the problem.
And what are you hearing from retailers themselves when you go out and you're pitching Bartlett? What's their response? What are they eager to check us out?
So it's part of the larger story for sure. And it depends on the retailer I'm talking to too. But man, the number one thing is the safety. Unfortunately, our area has a crime story that's unfortunate, and Bartlett is not part of that. And so to be able to say that you have access to what your core customer, the demographics that you want in a safe environment that's clean with people that want it, it's huge.
So what's the process? So when somebody says, I'm interested, and they might meet you at a conference, or they might just call you from a referral from the Bartlett Chamber, what's that process like, and about what kind of time frame does it take a retailer to actually open up?
So I told you I was in the restaurant business, right? Mm-hmm. I read a book by Danny Meyer called Setting the Table. And he had a thing that has stuck with me my entire life, and it's called constant gentle pressure. The storytelling has to be repeated over and over again. And when you are wanting to bring a retailer to any market, they want to move the salt shaker or the knife around and say, this is what I think it's like. And it's my job to constantly put that back where it is gently and say, this is what the real story is. Let's not move these things. So it's a process to get to that point. Once we get somebody that says, all right, I'm ready to do this, they're going to give us their site criteria, and then we're going to scour the market, and we're going to give them whatever opportunities we think fit. We're going to review those, and then they're going to give us a smaller list. And then once they approve that internally, depends on how big that company it is, they might have a real estate committee that says, okay, we kind of like these. Let's go look at them. Then we get them into town. Mm-hmm. We're going to drive all of those locations, get them on site. We're going to walk them through the space. We're going to walk them around the surrounding areas. We tell the whole story of, this is the number 2 high school in the state, all the things that need to be told, we're going to get them there, and then we're going to eat dinner in the market somewhere nice, a side porch or something like that, right? We're going to put them up in a great hotel, and then we're going to follow up with them the next day. We're going to get them sent back home. Then there's another process of, okay, where this is our short list. This is what we like. And then we send out what we call an LOI, letter of intent, to one or multiple of those people on the short list. And then a negotiation process starts from just an economic standpoint of whether it's a contract, it would be a sales price. If it's a lease, it's rent price, how much free rent they get, commencement dates, tenant improvement allowance, all those things, right? And so we'll negotiate that, and that can take a good bit. And then once we've done that, we kind of hand it off to the attorneys, and there's some legalese that they got to fight through in the final PSA and whatever the lease document is. And then there is some, depending on if the space is occupied, sometimes there's a delayed delivery. There's a due diligence period that can be anywhere from 60 to, I've got one right now that's got one that's 9 months long. So that's a big chunk of it. And then once that clears, you've got, construction pricing and design process, entitlement process with the city of getting the plans approved and those types of things. Then construction starts, and then the grand opening.
I think that a lot of people don't realize all of those steps that go into just one company coming. I mean, you've got that multiplied.
From start to finish. I mean, we're working with, one of the most exciting groups that the not only Bartlett, but the whole area is going to like bend over backwards excited about. And the first one probably won't open until end of 26 or maybe 27.
Mr. Mayor, we'll finish up with you here. Could you tell us about the Bartlett Station Commission and its role in promoting retail development?
Bartlett Station Commission was created back when the Wolf Chase Mall was coming along, because all the growth was going out toward the mall, and it was trying to incentivize and get retailers to come into the older part of West Bartlett. The couple of programs that we created to try to incentivize people is a lot of those buildings on the west end of town was pretty aged buildings. So we created a matching grant up to $35,000 for them to come in and to basically put a new facelift on their building and modernize it. And we've had several of those just completed there. And along with that, we give them some rebate of if they generate sales tax over a 3-year period. We give them some a per square foot ratio back to if they generate sales tax, trying to spur some economic activity down there, and it's been real successful. I think we've done 3 here just in recent days.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And, if I could add,
yes, please do.
One of the things is that I was going to be asked is can you give an example? How does that work?
Yes.
And I think the best example is a guy named Raging Cajun, who was going into
Mason,
Mason, and he was going into another community to build that same restaurant he built in Bartlett. And while he was out there, he just felt hesitant, stopped, and he came directly from there to the mayor's office, come in and said, "I'd like to talk to you." And he opened up his phone. Look, he says, "Mayor, I've got this idea. Here's my menu. Here's what I want to serve. This is what I want to do." He said, "But I'd like to do business in Bartlett." And I told the CEO, Steve, I says, "Get Mason." And I told him 4 properties to go drive. He went and drove the properties. And long story short, Raging Cajun opened up a few months ago in Bartlett. So that was one.
It's fantastic. Have you guys had it?
Oh, it's incredible.
So I married a Cajun queen.
Yeah.
It's got the stamp of approval. So
Wow, that's impressive.
He took advantage of that renovation to an older pig and whistle building years ago. Another one that just got renovated that we hear a lot about is the old McLemore's down there by used to be Mama's Barbecue. It did a complete renovation, looks phenomenally well down there. The side porch did one with actually put a side porch on the side porch.
On the side porch, that's right.
And so it's worked very, very well, and we're very aggressive trying to find those businesses up and down the Stage Road corridor. We've extended the boundaries. At one time was at the railroad tracks. We've extended them all the way down to 4-way and trying to get the connectivity between the west end and the 4 right there, so that we don't want it to be that when you get to be our age and you drive through town, it looks the same way. So we want to try to be relevant. We want to try to put these fresh looks on these buildings and create more opportunities for higher end retailers coming in.
That's fantastic. Great way to sum up the wonderful benefits that the city brings to the table.
Yes.
Absolutely. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
In closing, Mr. Mayor, how do you envision Bartlett continuing down the path of retail growth?
Well, to start off with, several years ago, we didn't have a path because we was closed to the sewer. And we've worked very diligently and very hard for the past 2.5 years now. So we've unlocked those opportunities and found solutions to those problems and getting those things funded. So how do I see it continuing down the path? I see the path being broader, being brighter, being deeper. And it's going to open up. We've identified about 400 acres that's between City Hall and the interstate out there. We're working with all those properties. And I could actually take the next 30 minutes and tell you about all the opportunities that are out there, which I can't tell you about. But there's a lot of good stuff on the horizon. Good things are happening. The sun is certainly rising and not setting. And unlocking all of these opportunities is it's only going to benefit those folks coming to our area of town and making those investment dollars. Your return is there. and the sale is there, and the citizens are eager and waiting to spend those dollars in your stores and in these retailers and in these other places that you have.
And so if you are a retailer and you are looking to relocate in Bartlett, you can contact the mayor or you can contact the chamber, and they'll put you in touch with Dustin's group, and we'll make sure that your call is returned very quickly.
That's right. Well, thank you guys both for coming today.
Great.
It was a wealth of information. It's an exciting time to be a Bartlett resident.
Amen.
And it's an exciting time to recruit people to Bartlett so that we can provide more amenities for our residents. So we just want to say thank you for joining us on the Heartbeat of Bartlett podcast today. We want to thank again our underwriter First South for sponsoring the podcast. And we want to give a shout out to our friends at V2 Media. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.
Bye.